All right, let's talk facts. Let's talk reality. Trump, via his attorney general, has appointed a special counsel or investigator, former head of the FBI, Robert Mueller. That's not going to put to bed all this Russian narrative. The Democrats started this a year and a half ago. They're not going to stop. The Podestas heading up the Hillary campaign had problems. They'd sold a third of our uranium to the Russians. Hillary had been meeting secretly with Putin. She'd been on the Chinese communist payroll. They had problems. So what you do is when you've got problems, you then blame what you've been up to on your opposition. But let's skip past all that. I don't back Donald Trump because he says he's a Republican. I don't back Donald Trump because I've talked to him on the telephone. I back Trump because you know a man by his enemies. The big banks, the foreign establishment, the multinationals, the communist Chinese, the corrupt Pope, the Saudi Arabians, they all have been arch enemies of him. Trump really is not a conservative. He's a populist. And when he criticizes the one-sided deals of NAFTA or GATT or the TPP, bipartisanly, secretly created over 10 years, Hillary Clinton was at the heart of it, that transfers our power to it, that's a big liberal issue that the liberals were all against. NAFTA, GATT, TPP, WTO taking our rights. I remember covering the left out in Seattle in '99, getting arrested and beat up, and the government hired provocateurs. Bill Clinton hired provocateurs. I was in the Seattle Post-Intelligencer, the Seattle Times, to engage in violence, to blame them. I have the footage. It's in my film, Police State 2, The Takeover. It's online for free. It's local newscasts, their own footage, you name it. So for me, I cut my teeth exposing Clinton corruption, and then George W. Bush corruption, and then Obama corruption, and then I saw the establishment that would fight on the surface with those guys, but at the end of the day, just go along with the whole agenda, really get pissed at Trump. And I didn't like the orange hair and all the flamboyant stuff, and I thought, isn't that guy like a Democrat, friends with the Clintons? But then I really saw the policies and how he supported not having NAFTA and GATT 20-something years ago, and I looked at how he was against the Iraq War. I saw the 6 different videos on CNN and Fox from 2003 on the eve of it saying, this is a bad idea, let's not do it. And then I would see mainstream media saying, Trump never did that, that's a conspiracy theory. And if you don't think Obamacare is free, you're a racist. You know, it was just like, whoa, what's going on? So the political discourse has been going downhill for a long time. And when Bush was in office, I was called a communist for opposing him. When Obama was in office, I was a racist. And then now, just in the campaign, because he was the underdog and knowing how bad Hillary was, how they stole the nomination from Sanders, I supported Trump. But I've seen a lot of people out there say, oh my God, you know, Trump is not as popular as he was with his base just 120 days ago. And, you know, the rallies aren't as excited about Trump anymore, but they're excited about libertarianism and, you know, fighting political correctness. Let's abandon Trump. Let's just promote what's exciting and new. I'm a winter patriot, winter soldier. That's not a Captain America movie. It has a previous term to like poems and things written back in the time of the Revolutionary War about George Washington battling through the coldest winters year after year, 6 years, and losing a lot of his soldiers and being a winter soldier, not a sunshine soldier, not a sunshine patriot. It isn't even about Trump. It's a figurehead like Farage and the Brexit. If they can destroy Trump, they can still the idea of collectivism and the wonders of Venezuela or North Korea. And those of us that are informed know that free market has its issues, but compared to socialism or communism or fascism, it's way more preferable. But the 48% that are either on government payroll or get government checks, they really don't have a sense of guilt. They have a sense of entitlement and a sense of flyover territory of anybody that has a swimming pool or has a nice life. And I'm overgeneralizing. There are a lot of government employees that do decent jobs and have value-added things. But, you know, it's the unions, it's the overall culture. And they just really see anybody that owns their own business as an enemy. It's like Obama. He says, you know, he built this new administration and thinks Trump's tearing it down, and he built America, but you didn't build your business. So it's this inherent arrogance and this inherent imperious haughtiness you see by the Republican and Democratic leadership that have been opposed to Trump. Now, Trump went sideways with a health bill that wasn't a very good overall, and he went sideways and saying, you know, we should go after Assange and all this. When Assange probably got him elected, he said, oh, Assange, if you got more stuff, please bring it out. That's all wrong. And that shows how Trump is his own man, or a loose cannon. But I'd rather have a loose cannon that really means what he's doing and who I don't totally agree with than just the same old establishment that are the lowest common denominator, where they all kind of agree with a consensus on keeping the public dumb, ripping us off, distracting us, creating a giant permanent underclass. Like Gruber talked about, thank God you're so stupid. I think you're stupid, myself included, because you've been dumbed down. The message is the medium. The medium is the message. They dumb the message down to dumb you down. There's been books written on it by propagandists. They've had great pieces even on Frontline about feedback loops on PBS, one of the few good things they've done on Frontline. So they know what they've done, and that's why they create this joke meme with me, or they take jokes I've said out of context to try to make me look more extreme than I am with the general public, so they just don't actually hear what I have to say. It's actually very cogent, very well reasoned. Before I get into what the world will look like if Trump's actually taken down, let me just break down. Here's an example. Stephen Colbert came out last week and said that Donald Trump is the cock holster, his mouth, for Vladimir Putin's penis. And then I made jokes days later, so I can say McMaster's is I learned about, I guess, on South Park, those guys in the leather jackets, whatever, the gay guys. Not against any of those guys, just it's a funny joke. I was saying that Chucky Schumer's a flying monkey, and then I guess I could say that, this is a joke after all, that McMaster's is a leather daddy, because that's why they all have shaved heads. I don't think they even have shaved heads. I just said that to be stupid. And I said, but I'm sure that's okay, because Colbert said that Trump's a cock holster. And I'm all for that. It's free speech. Say it if you want. Well, Colbert said, I still got my job. I'll do whatever I want. But people are calling for me to be kicked off the air because I'm anti-whatever, because I made a joke. No, I made a joke. And everybody knows there's this process of paring down what we say, editing what we say to distort for people. And this just goes on and on. I've talked about that with legal issues. I've said that I'm not going to sit here and roll over to stuff that's going on, and then the media just misrepresents that I have rolled over. And that's just part of the disinformation that they put out, preying on the American people. And from there it just goes on and on and on and on. But what will the world look like if Trump's taken down? During the Cold War and the threat of Russian nuclear annihilation of the United States, during mutually assured destruction, the United States set up systems where parallel shadow governments were in place. They were called deep state in congressional hearings in the 70s and stuff, 80s. They were called shadow government. And I would talk about this. The media would know you weren't informed. They never really covered it. They would say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Kind of like if I told you 100 years ago, this is a phone, a computer, I can call people on it, it can take photographs, it can tell you my heart rate. They would just say you're a conspiracy theorist, it doesn't exist. So it's like being a man from the future. And if you have knowledge, and pygmies don't have it in Central Africa, and you show up and show them a penicillin, or you show up and show them a firearm, they've never seen it, they think you're either making it up or you're a god. And so instead of saying, wow, people are really informed, they really know how stuff works, wow, Alex Jones told us 20 years ago that cameras were being hidden inside devices like your cable box, and then later in your phones and stuff, wow, really, he's really smart, we should listen to him. Instead, it's just, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. If someone has knowledge, if someone starts an independent media operation that reaches 45 million people a week and has changed the whole global paradigm and introduced the term information war to everybody, they're not trailblazers, they're kooks. You can feel big just calling me a conspiracy theorist. And I'm not talking to our general listeners that are informed, in many cases more than I am. I'm talking to folks that tune in and think this is all a joke, because they've been taught information is a joke, being successful is a joke, being informed a joke, having arrested development, being a failure is really trendy and cool, because misery loves company. But if they're able to remove President Trump, they've said under continuity of government COG that I told people back in November they'd probably try to use against him, that they're going to say all the Republicans elected during the last election aren't real either. And they're going to say the media is fake and start arresting people and suspend the government, and then have the deep state, the intelligence agencies, allied with the Democrats, shut down the independent media, and then take all the members of the House and all the members of the state houses that got elected, 900 plus, and all the governors, and say they were all elected because of Russians. Let me tell you, the Republicans were running around saying, we're going to suspend elections and say everybody was paid by the Russians and kick the Democrats out of office. Even if I hated the Democrats, I'd say that's dangerous. Kind of like they arrested Dinesh D'Souza for his political action, but let Michael Moore do stuff. If Michael Moore was being arrested for political stuff, I'd be freaked out. I mean, this is just such naked authoritarianism. Kill Trump, get Alex Jones. You see it everywhere. I had a guy the other night go, you're a traitor, you're a Russian agent. I'm just like, it's so ridiculous when you think about Trump really being a populist in his actions. NAFTA, GATT, stuff the liberals oppose, but now they're for. TPP, funding the Arab Spring so radical Muslims can go around enslaving women, throwing gays off roofs. I mean, all that's really going on. And then if you understand they bring down Trump, they're saying, and then we're going to bring everybody down, because they realize America's woken up. They're not liberal, they're not conservative, they're Americana, they're libertarian, they want freedom. They hate both parties, but they'll go through any medium they can. I wish the Democrats were reformed. And so if they're able to bring down Trump, they've said they want to move to authoritarianism in America. They've had the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Computer World all say they want the communist Chinese to help censor here, and they want to go ahead and start arresting people, and we're all fake news, and mainstream media, newspapers maybe do 100 retractions a year. I might do one a month, but they go, oh, look, he did a retraction. He's fake news. This is about taking everybody down. But so many people in this economy and so many people that are pseudo-intellectuals, they think Stephen Colbert is really smart and he's really thinking all this up live time. He's reading on the teleprompter. And they think that John Oliver and Trevor Noah and all those guys are like really talking to you live and that it's all real. And they really think they're the witty, cool group and, the evil flyover country, the evil rednecks. I know a lot of New Yorkers that are great people, but they think we ride horses. They think that we marry our sister. They don't know that most of the technology came out of Texas. A lot of it did. They don't know. It's like you're really talking to stunted weirdos from not just New York and places, but all over. And then they come from LA and collapsing California, and they want to have property taxes, and they want to have, toll roads, and we're like, we have lower taxes. It's why we have infrastructure here. It's why you came here. And they just go, we don't hear you. So here's the bottom line, whether you want to know it or not. Trump's imperfect. I'm not paid by Trump. I've had a lot of problems and attacks because I've defended Trump. And as I see the shine wear off Trump, I support him more than the fair weather friends that were there before, because I realized where we're at. And I realized that $3 trillion was added to the stock market, plus. We lost about $500 billion of it today. And I realized we have $300 billion plus dollars in new jobs, and upwards close to 1 million jobs now. It's 500,000 a month ago. And, we were going into a global recession, depression. And I know this really is helping the economy. And I get socialists and stuff think, oh, we'll plunge the free market, we'll reorganize it, we'll all be bosses. It never worked in Russia. It doesn't really work in China because they're mainly free market, at least for the elites. It doesn't work in Venezuela. It's this same weird thing of just a big gang of people saying we're going to take over the means of production. We're going to have this heaven, and all it ever produces is a hell, but somehow you think it's real intellectual because you sat in your first college courses with some weird communist who's got major Rand and Ford and Lockheed Martin grants telling you communism is the way to get ahead. And then I talk to communists on the street, they can barely talk. And they haven't read Marx and Engels, and they don't understand social Darwinism. They just don't understand eugenics. They don't have any basic knowledge. They don't know who Edward Bernays is. They don't know anything. They just sit there acting real intellectual and getting together like little followers. And that's the greatest problem, is the paradox of a free, open society compared to what we had in the past makes incredibly weak, pathetic people, as Victor Hugo, who would be a classical kind of leftist philosopher, statesman from France, but a good leftist, a true progressive. He said, adversity makes men, prosperity makes monsters. I think oversimplify calling the leftist, let's just say a real reformer. And if you look at a Victor Hugo or Thomas Jefferson, everything they actually wrote in big, thick books is at loggerheads with what Democrats claim they are. They were all about open, free debate. Colleges are banning it. This is really happening. And I'm not lionizing the Republicans and the fake conservatives either. I'm just saying the big, powerful, viral takeover is the left allied with radical Islam. And the big paradox is you've got all these betas And all these people that are just pathetic and stupid and dumb and have no vision and no spark and no creativity, and they're scared, and they get organized in college and high school, and they watch Comedy Central, and they get all wound up militarily and like kind of a false alpha male download. And then the true alpha males have been taught to be subservient, to control their alpha male instincts, to try to be more maternalistic and build people up. And we go, oh, here, let me help you. And they're like, bah, like attacking you like a piranha. And all they want to see is an alpha male torn down. They want to see the family broken up. They want to see any symbol of success destroyed because they don't have it. So they're banning Mother's Day in Canada and banning it here. They're saying, you know, let's get rid of the word father and mother. And 4 or 5 years ago when they started this, they'd say, oh, that's just extremely tough. Now they're like, no, we are going to ban it. And you just realize it's a cult of total followers that get in line because they believe we're finally in the in group. You know, I played football a couple of years, so I realized it was such a cult of so-called tough guys. And I could already have, you know, the best-looking cheerleaders. I wanted to date them already. Just because I was fun. I didn't need to be in football and go be part of some ritual. So I get liberals and trendies and pibs and, you know, the skaters and everybody for wanting to be kind of their own thing and not wanting the establishment. But they've taken kind of nerddom and turned it into the new establishment, and it's even more uncool than the jocks. I mean, I was somebody that very early on would love to go after all the skater girls. Back when I was growing up, that was when heavy metal was the coolest, but still most of the preppy guys were like, what are you doing wearing that Motley Crue or Metallica shirt? And I was like, I'm 13, I'm getting the 16-year-old girls to take me to the movies. And, you know, I had long blonde hair, and I'd let the girls comb it. You know, I mean, you know, if the 16-year-old girl wanted to put eyeshadow on me, as long as, I mean, I got to get taken to the movies with her. I mean, I did it. You know, I've already been there. I've already worn black and, you know, and you know, let the girl put black nail polish on me to, you know, get all the girls. I couldn't get rid of them. That's how I had so many. I'm not putting you down. I do that very often. I don't do it like that night at their houses. They want to do it. The point is, and I'm just telling you, I've already done it. I've already worn black. But at the same time, I wasn't just wearing black sometimes. I was getting in all the big fights, and I was playing baseball, and I was doing it all. And I'm not bragging about who I am or what I've done. It's just that I was the guy that didn't care if you were skaters, because I like to ride skateboards. And I didn't care if it was the, you know, fun black guys, and I'd go over to their house and hang out and go fishing with them at their farm, as long as they were cool people. I mean, I inherently hung out with everybody. You know, I'd go over and, you know, hang out in the Mexican part of town, and they were all more white bread than I was, listening to Black Sabbath and drinking whiskey. I went over there because it was fun. And that even quasi-segregated society was more integrated, more fun than this modern one today. And then I just see people who are totally empty, totally not having fun, with their handlebar mustaches and their tattoos all over them, which is fine with me. I'm not against handlebar mustaches and tattoos. It's just that that's establishment now. That's not trendy. Glenn Danzig 30 years ago with tattoos, you know, like he said 30, 40 years ago, it was only the Marines, you know, guys that were in the Army, and then punk rock that had tattoos. Now it's like everybody's got them. And I'm not knocking you for having them. I'm just saying, it's like, just because you have tattoos doesn't mean you're like super cool and have all the answers to the universe. And there's this form over reality. There's this clash between disinfo and reality. And I'm totally real. I'm really trying to empower the people. I know Kennedy cut taxes by 50% and tax money double the next year that came in. So that's not Republican or Democrat. That's what works. It gives the people the choice to build their own economy. Globalists want you barely getting enough to live so they control and can social engineer through Agenda 21 what you do. And the good news is, in closing, I've seen them 5 years ago saying Agenda 21 didn't exist and the Federal Reserve wasn't private. Today they have to admit it. And they have to admit world government. They have to admit globalism is unelected. They have to admit all this stuff now. And we've come a long way together. It's just that I've seen them weaponize politics like Edward Bernays did 80 years ago, merging Hollywood, burgeoning Hollywood, fledgling Hollywood with the politicians at these big press centers to make it all look like the super class. So whatever they say and believe is what we should all believe. out here in middle America or out here in real America. And that's just not how the world works. America was all about the commoner believing they had the answers and not liking elitism, not liking royalty, not liking buying into something. And that's what Alex de Tocqueville, the French philosopher and historian, wrote about. We should get back to common sense and grassroots and local control, and not liberal or conservative, but real issues. We should trust the American people to own firearms and to have their own businesses, and trust the Amish to sell cheese. We have courts if somebody gets sick from the cheese, but nobody ever does from their cheese. It's big government cheese you get sick from. That's what I mean. We're just being turned into these domesticated jellyfish, and it doesn't empower us. And then the system tries to sexualize children and tries to, have the state come in and tell your kid what sex they are or what sex they're not. I mean, all of this is such a brutal assault on the identity and free will of the people, and everyone should see it. And the vehicle of global corruption right now is leftist world governments, because that's what domesticates you, and that's inherently a better vehicle than fake conservatism. Fake conservatism is just the stand-in loyal opposition to that system. And so Trump fundamentally is bringing a businessman approach and really is trying to be the turnaround man for America, and that's why he's so opposed. So if they get rid of him, they're going to then try to remove all the Republicans that have been elected. They're going to try to suspend elections, have new ones in 6 months once they do it, and we'll never come back from that without a civil war. And hell, they're so cocky and so arrogant in their megalomania, they want a physical fight with everybody right away. And then I just look at everybody that saw the last staged election, where they tried to steal it from Trump but still failed. You guys aren't all powerful, and you want to have this rite of passage that you didn't have when you were 14 or 15 of fighting or warfare. And you're just beta followers. You only become leaders and stop being cuckolded, conditioned people when you realize you've been manipulated. But I understand the way cognitive dissonance works, or Stockholm syndrome, learned helplessness. People don't really want to admit that chemicals have been put in their food and water to change their biology from birth. People don't really want to admit why their family's dying of cancer around them. People don't really want to do anything about it because there's an inherent laziness that, oh, that's work, or I don't want to believe that. I can believe whatever I want. And it's that delusional garbage that's the real hallmark of a society that's about to collapse. But I'll tell you this in closing. I'm not going to collapse. I'm going to be successful no matter what happens politically. I mean, unless we have a total collapse of society. I'm always going to be successful because I live in the real world. And that's really the proof of knowing what you're talking about. You look at people that go get 2-3 college degrees, almost worthless. I'm not knocking college. They've gotten rid of the economy that they're teaching you to be part of. I'm just telling you, I get it. You got 3 degrees. You've got to hate the middle class and prosperity and families, because the degrees aren't to get that now. The degrees are part of being in a political club. And then you hope that if you take over what's left of the economy, that you could be successful by managing others. You have to build your own world if you're going to be successful. If you run somebody else's life, you won't be happy. And that's all I'm getting at here. For control freak right-wingers, control freak left-wingers, all of you, there's just so much deception, and the fake news that they project about me, and you ask, why am I such a big enemy? It's because what we're covering fundamentally threatens their world system. About empowering you, about understanding history, about a Renaissance economy, about a system based on humanity. Not a future where we're not needed, not a future where we're obsolete, but a future built more, for and by us. So Trump's very, very sad, and the people being so weak is very, very sad. And if he's destroyed, it will only embolden the forces of tyranny that are just cozied up to communist China and the Vatican and everything else. I look at the left like going, oh, thank God, China's going to help censor the right wing on the news. And I'm just like, China kills Buddhists by the hundreds of thousands a year and sells their organ. And leftists don't care because it's their identity to just love big government and think they're defeating the evil right-wingers. It's the same thing with Islam, and millions being brought into Europe, and hundreds of thousands here, and sexual mutilation, and they're almost all men, and they're horrible, just horrible, thug-like, gross cultural thugs. And then the left's like projecting that on the West that empowered women, and then going, oh, I love the hijab, I cut my genitals off, oh, it's so liberal, oh, throw the gays off buildings. And they really are doing this, and you realize they are cuckolded and feel powerless, and they're scared but a kind of twisted, dirty, filthy third world alpha male they get off on because it's ugly like them. And you realize that that's why misery loves company. All right, I'm done. I appreciate you watching. I'll be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central, Infowars.com/show. I know most of the spam bots from David Brock and others, they admit hundreds of millions spent every few years, just put out stupid little, hey, tinfoil hat, hey, you're crazy stuff. But I know there's some real people out there that then see that and kind of repeat it. And I get the great audience is awake. You're awake. I just keep talking to the prodigal sons and daughters out there that just don't know that I really want to see you succeed. I want to see you out of the cult you're in. I mean, you're in a cult just like Nazism or what we've seen with the modern cults. There's no cult with me. They call me a cult leader. There's no followers here in my presence. There's no do as just as I say. I'm just saying you've got the power and the answers. The cult of worshiping government, the cult of the New World Order, the cult of socialism just doesn't work for the average person. And you got all these billionaires, combining forces to bring in a world government and saying that it's going to be something that totally ends human freedom. And that's something we should reject. And anybody that claims they're anti-establishment, the whole establishment, I leave you with this, is lined up against Donald Trump. He's tried to co-opt the establishment unsuccessfully. And it's just so sad to see the lion stumbling in the arena, being torn apart by hyenas, and then seeing a bunch of bound chickens squawking like a conveyor belt being fed to other hyenas, looking at the lion, thinking they're hyenas, and even as they drop into the hyenas' mouths and are eaten, they still think they're on the winning team. You're not. You're being preyed on. You're being controlled. The globalists admit it. Read their white papers. They're public. Gruber says, thank God you're so stupid. Obamacare is written to rip you off. And then some of you go, oh, I know it's written to rip us off, but it's good to have total control. So, I'm part of the establishment. No, you're not. You're not part of the establishment. You're chumps. You're useful idiots, like Lenin said. You just don't get it. And they say ignorance is bliss. And I guess that's what it is. And I just feel guilty because I'm going to be successful no matter what you do. Genetically, culturally, monetarily, spiritually, I'm super fulfilled. And I just want to see you fulfilled. And you're just buying a false paradigm, a false construct that the elite admit they've done to you. And you want to destroy those of us that don't want to be on your plantation with you. And it's quite frankly horrifying. All right, I've talked to the folks out there that are praying for Trump's destruction. And most of the people that are against Trump and nationalism know that it's the right way to go. They're just paid off. And they probably, admit that to me. All right, Infowars.com/show. I want to thank Michael Zimmerman for coming over and doing this feed tonight. Please spread this video. They're trying to block us and censor us, but thanks to you, we're reaching more people than ever. So I want to commend you all and thank you. Infowars.com. Thank you.